Hey buddy, it's your old pal Scott, and this is Let's Talk Tabletop. This week I wanted to discuss the difference between independent and corporate games, and there are very significant differences, and I'll tell you exactly why I think independent companies and creators, whether it be video games or tabletop, are the future, and corporations, they're not. Let's dig in. So there's multiple reasons why I believe independent developers are and pretty much always have been the drivers of creativity and success in industries. The only reason why corporations used to be the go-to entity for all of your creative Dungeons and Dragons or Games Workshop games or anything like that, Magic the Gathering, is because back in the day, developing a game was very hard for the independent creator. Prior to print-on-demand rulebooks or print-on-demand game pieces like with the GameCrafter.com, independent creators couldn't get their games out. They had to go through different channels that were really hard to navigate, and they had to talk to mass producing manufacturers like China or anywhere else. And it was a serious maze for them to get through. So that's the reason why you didn't have very many independent creators decades ago that were breaking out and doing things. What they had to do is get a job at a corporation, and the corporation, sure, we will pay for 10,000 copies of this book up front just so we can sell it later at a profit. Where an independent person can't do that. But luckily, with new technology, independent creators more than ever have been able to produce their own games and break the mold in how games should act or what should be allowed in games or the whole business structure of games. And there's been a plethora of independent creators for board games, card games, miniatures games, video games that have made names for themselves. I know I have found quite a bit of success with Brutality Skirmish Wargame and all of the supplements, and we have a very nice community of roughly 5,000 people on Facebook, and it's been amazing. And the reason why I was able to do that, not because I had money to buy 10,000 copies of my book ahead of time, it's because of technology like print on demand. Like my publisher Lulu is print on demand, so we don't have a warehouse full of books sitting there. But the problem is that now that the independents have access to things that they didn't used to have access to, such as print on demand, etc., now it's more evident than ever that corporations don't create anything. They really don't. Corporations hire or contract creative people that would otherwise rather be working on their own property project, and they will hire them to work on the next edition of Warhammer or whatever it is, right? So now the mask is kind of off. We used to think these corporations did these amazing creative labors of love, and now we realize that it was the people that worked there. And those people, at heart, were independents. They may have never published an independent game themselves, but at their heart, they had a passion for creation and a passion for games and game mechanics. So that's why I say, now with this technological revolution and all of the digital age and social media and all that, it's never been easier for independent creators to strike out and make their own game, just like I did. We have a flood. If you just look at Kickstarter, we have a flood of new creators doing things. Now, is it a little much, and is it a crowded marketplace for board games, card games, video games? Yeah, it really is. But you are not at a loss for choice whatsoever. Where it used to be, oh, what games do you play? I play the big name board games. I play Games Workshop. I play Magic. Like, you had very few options. And now you have a ton of options. And we're seeing all sorts of interesting mechanics come out of these independent games. Independent creators are thinking outside the box. They're doing things that interest them. And there's multiple reasons why this is an excellent thing. One major point with supporting independence versus corporates is that I don't have to do any cheesy stuff in order to make money the way corporations do. And most independent creators, just like me, are in that same position. You'll never make enough money, probably, being an independent creator to actually live off of it. So that means that you're doing it in your spare time, which also means that you already have an independent source of income, like a daily job that you do, and you just work on your passion project in between time. Well, that's actually really good for a number of reasons, because you're not going to see unnecessary additions being put out just for the sake of it. If the creator does anything, they're probably going to really put their all into it, and they're going to think it actually improves the game versus just the Games Workshop model of, oh, just change things so they're different now and you have to buy new things. They need number to go up. That's what they need. So another interesting thing is that if you don't agree with what an independent does, you can boycott them way easier than you can a corporation. None of us are happy with the prices of Games Workshop's product, right? But the vast majority of people continue to spend money with them, which doesn't teach them any lessons. They're going to continue raising it. That's all they're going to do. They're going to continue raising it. So the thing is, with an independent, if enough people are offended by their release schedule, or they change the game for no good reason, or any of that, or they price hike real high, then you actually have voting power. You have power over these independents that you don't over a corporation. And that's actually a huge benefit for the independent fan compared to the corporate fan. I know a whole network of independent creators. Board games, RPGs, miniature war games, a whole network of people I've met over the years. Some of them have been published by Osprey Games and a couple of those companies. And you can tell one thing among all of them, the independent creators, they're all extremely passionate. They love their game. They really, really do, and it means a ton to them. And really, they're being paid, obviously, is something you would like to happen for all of your hundreds of hours of work on your project, correct? But it's not really about the money. Of course, you don't want to lose money, and of course, you want to be paid something, but you don't need billions of dollars like a corporation needs. And the worst part is, if a corporation makes billions this year, they better make billions next year, or they've got hell to pay. So an independent creator is not into that at all. So a lot of the times, the reason why we don't see anything creative coming out of corporations, it seems like the same old drivel, whether it be video games or it's board games or whatever, is because all of the independent creators that wanted to strike out on their own and do passion projects that mean the world to them, those type of people have already struck out and done their own thing. They've left the corporations. Now the people that are hired by corporations are creative, but the corporations don't want to rock the boat too much. They don't want to change things too drastically. They want it to be the same as before, but different enough that you have to keep buying. Look at all of the sports games EA made, the Madden and the FIFA and all of that, and it's just the same thing every year with minor tweaks. Plus one this, minus one that, and sometimes they take away awesome facets of the game and for no reason, just so it's different. So you have to buy the new one. And in the case of Age of Sigmar 4.0, my friends and I are basically of the thought process that they didn't improve. Age of Sigmar 4.0 is actually a downgrade from Age of Sigmar 3.0 in the list building and the endless spells and all of that. It's a serious downgrade. Matter of fact, if you take a fluffy list and you take auxiliary units, you are penalized for it, actually penalized. And that is so not the spirit of Age of Sigmar up until now. So this is just, oh, different now, buy new codexes. That's all it is. It's not trying to improve the game. Because after 30 years or 40 years, however long Age of Sigmar, 40K has been around, 40 years. After 40 years of 40K, you think they might get it right by now, right? You think these editions would actually be lasting longer and longer because they're just fine-tuning it. After 30 or 40 years, they're just, man, you know what? I think chain swords just a little bit too powerful. Let's make them whatever. And they would be fine-tuned it. But now it's just different for difference sake. And it's no different from all the other corporate cash grab stuff, the DLCs and the subscription services and the live services and all of that. It's just greedy. The passion is gone out of any corporations. The people that truly are creative and passionate and have a drive will just publish their own stuff, such as we've seen with Starbound and Stardew Valley and a million other games, Dwarven Fortress, and all these people have put their entire life and passion into these games, and they've seen serious success. One thing I would like to mention, if you're an independent creator, or you would like to be an independent creator, you should 100% pursue that. It's going to take a lot of tenacity and it's going to take a lot of effort. But Don't be afraid that nobody will like your game. Obviously, there's no game in the entire world that everybody likes. You can't even say the basic games such as poker or chess or checkers, tic-tac-toe. Not everybody likes tic-tac-toe, okay? And those are like fundamental games that everybody should be exposed to. So, of course, there's going to be people that don't like your game. But that doesn't make it any less valid. You could actually have a really great idea and you will find an audience. More and more than ever, the audience is willing to take a stab at independent games and try them and buy your book or buy your miniatures or whatever. They're willing to try it. And if you support the community and you keep developing the game better and better and adding new aspects to it and things like that, then you're going to find an audience. But it is a kind of a lonely road. I can't tell you how often I share my Facebook page or pay for ads or I've had people review my books or and all of those things. You got to always be selling your own product. So it is a lonely road, but you can definitely make it. Uh, when I first released Brutality Skirmish War Game, I was of the mind that I didn't think anybody would want to buy it. I truly didn't. And I said my goal was I will be thrilled if I sell 30 copies. Like legitimately 30 copies. I would be thrilled if 30 people actually wanted to try my game. And I've sold many more copies than that. Many, many, many more copies. It took like a day for me to surpass that. And I was very, very happy. Actually, I was floored. I could not believe that anybody would take an actual risk on buying a rule book from some nobody. And it's only gone up from there. I mean, we have a fantastic community of wonderful people, and I get fan letter emails and say they like my game. And honestly, that's all I've ever wanted my entire life is that people play my game and enjoy it. And I can guarantee you, all of the creatives that I know have the exact same heart. All of the independents, they just want people to play their game. I've never met a single independent creator for games that was all about the money. Oh, I'm going to cut this corner so it can profit me more. No. If anything, a lot of them undersell themselves. So get out there and make your game. Anyway, thank you so much to my beautiful, sexy, good smelling Patreon patrons. They are listed right there. And I would like to thank Big Old Mike for being the head of my Patreon patrons. I'll see you next week.